right, your next comedian, straight out of the rest home, ladies and gentlemen. He told me to say that. Please welcome to stage Arthur Belkind!
I'll be okay. My name is Arthur Belkind, and I'm so excited to be here tonight. But actually, I'm excited to be anywhere tonight. I want to start by thanking you guys for coming out. Your support's really incredibly important for all of us. Let me be honest. It's a hell of a lot more important for me. I'm an old man. My timeline to success is here, so I'm hoping you'll work with me. Here's the plan. I skip the jokes, you go right to the laughter, and I get the hell out of here and go home to bed where I belong. At my age, I should be doing lie down, not stand up. If anyone has a chance of dying up here tonight, I'm so old. I remember when the Dead Sea was thick. I remember rainbows when they were black and white. And how's this? I can remember preparation A's. I've seen Halley's Comet 27 times. And I can remember when the Amish were technologically advanced. But I just had a wonderful experience that I want to share with you. I just came back from my 65th high school reunion. Charter Schools High School in Queens, New York. I was the only one that showed up. And I still couldn't win most popular. I was very disappointed, but, and this is true, two of my classmates were Simon and Garfunkel. I always grew up, I always worshipped them. I always was so jealous. I wanted to be a rock and roll star myself. And in fact, I tried to teach myself the guitar for a couple of years. And then I found out you weren't supposed to blow into it. So that kind of ended my career. But I always did like rock and roll. And in fact, I just heard the other day that one of my favorite groups, the Rolling Stones, are going to be coming out and doing another tour this summer. Yeah, I think they should probably call it the wheelchair tour. These guys have got to be in their 80s or close to it, and they should probably also think about changing their name. I don't think the Rolling Stones quite make it anymore. It's be more like the Kidney Stones. And they're not the only ones. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and not very young. The Grateful, they're not dead. The Bald Eagles. Fifth Dementia. My favorite probably is Earth, Wind, and Fiber. And then we have Tom Petty and the Pacemaker. But when I graduated high school in New York, I remained in New York. I went to New York University. This was in the early 60s, and this was in the day of hippies and love children and all of that stuff. It was really wonderful. I went to NYU in the Village, and really we'd see people who would come around and try to pass tambourines and things for quarters. That's how I first met Dylan, when he was panhandling for quarters. And I've been thinking lately, though, of how it related back then to now. And then I used to do a lot of acid. Now it's antacid. Now we do weed killer. Then it was killer weed. Back then it was whatever. Now it depends. And we always used to look for new hip joints to go to. Now I would settle for a new hip joint. And the thing I coveted the most back then was a BMW, but I gladly settled for the first two parts of that now. So I'm probably not the only one in here. But after I graduated from college, I worked on Wall Street for a couple of years. I didn't care for that much, so I went to Chicago to go to law school. and I went to law school. I graduated. I was a prosecutor for about 3 or 4 years, and then I ended up doing almost 40 years of criminal defense work. But the best thing that happened to me in Chicago was I met my wife, and we've been together for almost 45 years now. I lost all respect for her the day she married me. On the way over here tonight, she said to me, "You haven't heard one word I've said, have you not? One word." And I thought, what a strange way to start a conversation. I finally got her to repeat what she said, though. She said that she missed the times when we first started dating and how I used to treat her. So next weekend, I'm going to take her to the dinner and the movie and drop her off at her parents' house. She's run into some bad luck lately. A couple of weeks ago, somebody stole all of her credit cards. And she doesn't know this, but I haven't even reported it. The thief charges less than she did. But she's had a tough time with that. But in reality, she's a saint, which is pretty strange because we're Jewish. And in fact, she cooks right out of the Old Testament. Last night she served burnt offerings. I think she got the recipe when we were in the Middle East. Over the years, I've taken her to 40 countries on 5 continents, and she's managed to find her way home every time. I still take her everywhere I go, though, and that way I don't have to kiss her goodbye. She gets me back pretty good sometimes. About 2 weeks ago, I said to her, "Honey, it's been 45 years, sweetheart. You can tell me the truth. Am I the only one?" And she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "Yes, sweetheart, you're the only one. All the rest are 9s and 10s. I gotta put up with it. I'm so old, I can remember when the Congress actually did something. And, that was a long time ago. And I'm not taking sides, it's both sides. They have done nothing for us for years. And I'm just grateful that some of the states have done something. Some of them passed laws legalizing marijuana. Some of them passed laws legalizing gay marriage, also controversial, especially with the religious right. But that's the part I don't understand, because if you read your Bible, in Leviticus, it clearly states if a man layeth with another man, they shall be stoned. You got it. Peoria doesn't get it. LA gets it, and you got it. Thank you. Trouble is, we don't read our Bibles enough. The first mention of PMS was in the Bible, and Mary rode Joseph's ass all the way to Bethlehem. You like that one? One of my Mother's Day specials. Last night at the nursing home, I had television privileges. And as I was scanning around, I came upon one of my favorite movies, The Wizard of Oz. And that's kind of like Shawshank Redemption or Love Actually. When you see it, you can't not watch the end of it. So as I'm watching it, it occurred to me that if Dorothy were alive today and encountered men that didn't have brains or courage or heart, she wouldn't be alive. She'd be standing right in the middle of the halls of Congress. I'm old. I can do this. I don't have time. Someone's got to say something at this point. I've been in Arizona now for 37 years. And when we first moved here, people didn't even know where Arizona was. And now, though, it's become very popular, and politically, it's a very important place. So we actually have people come here and visit us, and lecture and everything. And a couple of weeks ago, one of my favorite people, Al Sharpton, was here to speak at one of the churches on the west side. Well, I gotta go see Reverend Al. I go, I sit down, I walk in there, sit down. I'm not there 30 seconds. He comes over, puts his hand on my knee and goes, by the will of Jesus Christ and by the will of God Almighty, you will walk today. I said, Reverend Al, I'm old, but I'm not crippled. I said, have faith, you will walk today. I didn't want to argue with him. I stayed and listened to his sermon. It was absolutely fabulous. I get up, I go outside, and lo and behold, someone stole my frickin' car. And there's Reverend Al in the doorway. You will walk today. A little bit more, and I'll be out of here. I'm so old, I can remember when flying was fun. I'm sure some of you remember that too. You put on a suit and a jacket and a tie, and you go with your friends and family to the airport. You'd have a meal. They'd walk you to the gate. The people would meet you on the other end. Everybody had a travel agent. It was all wonderful. Not anymore. Now you got to go online. You go do your due diligence. It takes forever. You finally book a flight. You think you're done, and then a seat chart pops up. And for $80, you can get the red-coated seat. That's the one your whole ass fits in. For $40, you get the blue-coated seat. That's the one where both legs can fit. And for $10, you get the white-coated seat, which I think is in the bathroom. And what the hell did I just buy? Standing room? When I flew with the Wright brothers, they didn't care where I sat. Now the first thing that happens when you get to the airport is somebody orders you to take off your shoes and your jacket and your belt and from your pocket take out your computer. And that's a thief in the parking lot. But the thing that ticks me off the most about all of that is because of some moron, everybody in the world has to take off their shoes. Why couldn't it have been a bra bomber? Just a thought from an old man. I don't think I would mind standing there looking at the 36 feet. Feet, not so much. But that's what happens at the airport now. And then, of course, you have those people, right. They are the most inept human beings on the face of this earth. And here's the problem. There's nothing they can do about it. Once you're inept, you can't become inept. Some of them were cited so many times here for groping and fondling that they were finally transferred to another parish. Yes, you can do that too. This is some other advice, and this is really the truth. You know, we have Southwest Airlines here, which used to be better, but they're still pretty good. But the thing about them is they don't sign seating right away. You got to go 24 hours before everybody in the world goes online and tries to make sure they're not in the Z world and everything. Ladies, this goes with them. You don't have to do that anymore. All you do is check in whenever you want, no matter what you get. When you get to the airport, you go up to the counter and you tell them that you have to medically pre-board. And because of HIPAA, they're not allowed to ask you why. So I've been embarrassing the crap out of my family for years already. I live on before I had now with sciatica, I would just live on the plane with everybody with wheelchairs and crutches. And I'd go and I'd sit down in the first row, take out the elastic bag, open it up and hold it under my chin. And then you watch the people get on the plane. And they start to walk on the plane, they look, they see me, they go, I don't think so. So just keep walking. I've had people get off the plane rather than sit next to me. So once in a while, it does happen. People do sit next to you, and of course they want to tell you their whole life story. And I just look at them and go, you can see me? very elegant, and I don't know if it was a perfume or a cologne, whatever it was, but it was really very nice. And she must have seen me going, and she looks at me and she goes, Joy, $250 an ounce. We wait for up, and we there for about an hour, and I see her going, and I look at her and I go, broccoli, 69 cents a pound. And right in the pound, take care of each other, and remember, master marriage.
Give it all for Arthur Belkind, everyone.